Big trailer just dropped that has people talking. No, not that one. This one. This is a movie based on a web series called The Backrooms, which is about glitching out of reality into a liminal space of infinite yellow-walled corridors and being hunted by something lurking within. Whilst this is an episode of a TV series called The Many Place, which is about glitching out of reality into a liminal space of infinite yellow-walled corridors and being hunted by something lurking within. One of them was written by me, and the other wasn't. One of them came first, and the other came second, and one has been accused of ripping off the other. The question is, who ripped off who? In this episode, I get to the bottom of it in a journey that takes me through this, and this, and this. And discover the answer to that question is surprising, initially disheartening, but ultimately freeing. This is interesting. On the 15th of May 2019, an episode I wrote of the series Creeped Out, which is a horror anthology series for the youth, dropped in the UK and Canada before appearing on Netflix, which is where you'll find it now. The episode is called The Many Place and is about 3 kids who leave their reality and are trapped in a liminal space of infinite, empty, yellow-walled corridors where they hear the terrifying sound of a creature who starts to come for them. People really liked it, but in comments under reaction videos and in user reviews and online discussion boards about this episode, a reoccurring theme started to appear. Over and over, the same word was being repeated: Backrooms. And all were saying the same thing, that my episode totally copied it. Now, I had no idea what the Backrooms was, and my first reaction was, oh God, have I stolen this idea without realizing it? Which is a thing. A quick Google told me what people were referring to. The Backrooms is an internet horror myth made up of fan-created canon that evolved on platforms like Reddit and YouTube that users have expanded into a loosely shared universe of levels and entities with lore and maps and survival rules. It spans games, found footage web series, and now an A24 movie, no less. And all of this originated from a single anonymous post on the image board 4chan, where a user shared an unsettling image of empty yellow-walled corridors alongside a short piece of text describing a hidden endless maze you could accidentally no-clip into from reality. No-clipping, for the uninitiated, is a gaming term for a cheat mode that lets you pass through game boundaries. And God save you, this post says, if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you. In other words, the post and what came after was shockingly similar to my episode of Creeped Out, right down to the little details. When I saw this, for a moment, I thought I might have fallen foul of a writer's worst nightmare, which is accidentally plagiarizing something that got buried in your subconscious. But then I looked at the date of the Backrooms 4chan post. It went up on May the 12th, 2019, just 3 days before my episode aired, which made the hairs on the back of my neck go up. But I hadn't copied anything. Technically, yes, it dropped first, but you can't write and make an episode of TV in 3 days, obviously. Actually, I can tell you exactly how long it took. Here is my original synopsis for the ep, dated 3rd of May 2018, almost exactly a year to the day before the 4chan post and the episode both drop. It's called the elevator ep because in my story that's how they no-clip out of reality, by pressing all the buttons. So, I hadn't copied them, but given that The Many Place had been circling in development within the industry for over a year, had they copied me? This niggled a little, so I delved deeper. If you're a writer, I'm willing to bet you've experienced at least once the feeling of seeing your idea on the screen, only made by someone else. It's happened to me quite a few times in big and small ways. During the pandemic, I spent a lot of my spare time writing something I called The Initiated, which is about an ancient cult and was based on the Pied Piper myth. In that very detailed outline, I had this phrase describing a sequence in the present day. In the middle of the night, while their parents sleep, children around the world, including in your home and mine, silently sit up from their slumber. Their eyes are glazed. They get out of bed and silently walk out the doors of their bedrooms and then their homes and into the snow and the dark. If that sounds familiar to you, it might be because you saw it here.
At 2:17 in the morning, every kid woke up, got out of bed, walked downstairs, and into the dark. and they never came back.
When I saw that trailer in the cinema, I actually went cold. The moment matched my writing exactly. And in the preceding 4 years, I had taken the initiated out, and a lot of producers had seen it. I mean, this stuff travels between execs on both sides of the Atlantic. It could have seeded in any one of their minds and buried in their subconscious and come out in any one of a dozen meetings as a new idea. Had it been stolen, accidentally or otherwise? The truth is, the answer to that question doesn't matter, because something far more interesting is at play and matters more. An advertising exec once said to me that the first version of an idea occurs to everyone, but fewer people push that idea to the next level, and fewer people still push it again to the level after that, and even fewer to the level after that, and so on. The further you push it, the rarer the version of the idea and the more individual it becomes. Or put another way, the further you walk, the more you walk alone. When my son was born, we had a very difficult delivery that went from a tranquil water birthing centre to the emergency room of a hospital, where he was born by cesarean. Afterwards, making the stress of it lighter, I joked that he had come out through the sunroof. This always got a laugh, and so I said it to quite a few people. 15 years later, I'm watching Amy Schumer on SNL, and she says...
But no, I did. I had a C. He came out the sunroof, and...
Now, did I invent the sunroof thing and it travelled through people mimetically over 15 years all the way to Amy Schumer? Did both of us unwittingly get it from someone else, or did we both just come up with it independently? The reality is probably that last one, because it is low-hanging fruit. It is the first or second level of an idea. There's a name for when this happens. It's called multiple discovery. This is the phenomenon where different people or groups working independently and often in different parts of the world arrive at the same scientific or creative breakthrough at roughly the same time, suggesting discoveries are not heroic individual acts, but the inevitable result of the current state of knowledge. It's sometimes also called simultaneous invention or parallel thinking, but I prefer the term steam engine time from cyberpunk author William Gibson, who suggested that once the necessary cultural infrastructure is in place, certain ideas form in the air, and multiple people are inevitably poised to think them simultaneously. You've probably heard of famous examples like two people inventing the telephone at the same time, but did you know that two entirely different, independently created comic strips titled Dennis the Menace debuted on the exact same day, 12th of March, 1951, on opposite sides of the Atlantic? Stuff is in the air, and we're all reaching out to grab at it, so we're all going to come back with fistfuls of the same stuff. And we're not always going to be aware of it. For a powerful illustration of this phenomenon at work, take a look at this episode of Derren Brown's Trick of the Mind, where he drives two advertising creatives across London to a boardroom where they're asked to come up with an ad campaign for a fictional product. I'll link to the full video below if you want to watch it. Like me, you'll be surprised and alarmed as they independently come up with the exact same idea that Derren Brown had already previously written in an envelope, thinking until that moment they were being wholly original. The reason they weren't being original was because Derren Brown had carefully planned their trip, subliminally exposing them to specific creative ingredients along the way through sights and sounds out the window, which nudged them towards a particular set of ideas without them realizing it.
Oh, I'm gutted. I could see that it was folded, and I just saw the bear's foot hanging over the cloud with a harp. Yeah. And I just thought, oh, I can't believe it. Yeah.
That episode was about the power of subliminal messages, but it is in microcosm what all creatives experience within the culture. We are passengers travelling through a sea of information which catches in our minds and forms ideas in rhyming ways, which means none of us, and I include the most inventive among us, are particularly original. By that I mean rarely, if ever, will we come up with something that no one in history has thought of before. But this is not a reason to despair. I bring it up to set you free, because true creativity, to use my old mate Cato's expression, is not in the meat but in the motion. I'm sorry, he really did used to say that, and there is really no better way to describe this. Because truly fresh creativity is not in the idea, but in the execution. This is where you can be truly unique, because you are unique. There is only one of you. There is only one person with your specific personality and experience and worldview and obsessions. This is your voice, and creatively speaking, it is the most valuable thing about you. It is the thing that sells. It is the thing that will deliver you success, not the idea, but your particular telling of the idea. This is your take, not just on the story, but on life. My take on the conceit at the center of Weapons is completely different, I realized when I finally saw the movie, and I would put its success down to its very specific voice. Original means first, but unique, from the Latin one, means being the only one of its kind. Take any creative you admire in history and the work they're most famous for. Usually you will find that they and it were successful not for the originality of the idea, but for the unique execution of that idea, which comes wholly from how they process their world. The rule is often proven with the slew of copycats that come in the wake of a breakout movie, which try to duplicate their success in the process. But none copy the most essential ingredient, which is a unique personal point of view, a voice. What makes copycats fail is not that they're copying an existing idea, it's that their execution of it is not authored. Your voice, your unique way of seeing and your interpretation of what you see is the only thing that is truly fresh. And if you're trying to break through into this business, it's this that you should be leaning into. When I eventually broke into the industry after years of trying, it was for a comedy script I wrote where I was just trying to make myself laugh, and because of that it was uniquely me and unlike anything else, and that caught the attention of the right people, and the rest is history. That script, by the way, was based on a decades-old book called The Day of the Triffids. Hardly new. So, is the Backrooms based on the Many Place episode? There is one way it's possible if the post was created by one of the people who worked on the production, of which there were hundreds. But do I think that's the case? I'm going to say unlikely, and even if it was, I can't account for the following the Backrooms post gained and the ever-expanding canon it created, and I especially can't claim credit for Kane Parsons' web series, the voice and execution of which is what A24 bought into. It's not the meat, it's the motion. It's not the idea, it's the execution. Too many people concentrate on the wrong end of the equation. Concentrate on your voice. Discover it, embrace it, let it loose, and protect it at all costs, because it is your success maker. It is your money-making machine. It is what makes you special. But there is a coda to this, a dark cloud on the horizon of even execution. Something that has been creeping into our culture unseen, and it is the reason a lot of the content you see now feeling kind of samey. I went to a Nick Cave concert in Toronto once, coincidentally whilst filming Creeped Out, and witnessed something truly mesmerizing. Halfway through the concert, Cave started waving his hand back and forth like this, really slowly but deliberately, and he didn't stop. I was up in the balcony and watched with fascination as people in the front row started swaying in rhythm with his hand, and then the rest of the row followed, and then the people behind them started swaying too, all in perfect unison with his hand, and slowly but surely this infected the people around them until the entire auditorium was swaying in unison to his hand like seaweed in a current. All the while his deep resonant voice lulled us like babies. It was hypnotic. I don't think I've seen an example of that much raw power over people before. You know, outside of cults and world wars. But this to me, as a metaphor, is social media. Recent studies suggest that social media platforms are driving a culture of conformity, leading to a decline in individual uniqueness and a tendency towards greater similarity amongst users. This is known as the TikTok effect. Research published last year by the British Psychological Society found that the need for uniqueness has been decreasing, with a decline in people's willingness to publicly defend their own individual beliefs. Analysis has shown that platforms encourage massive trends that move from the internet to reality, fostering a culture of conformity where people adopt the same behaviors, mannerisms, and styles to avoid being labeled as other. And as we construct an online narrative based on perceived societal ideals rather than our own authentic selves, we disappear into the collective. And this, of course, includes creators and producers of film and television. And this, of course, leads to sameness, not just in new ideas, but much worse, in the execution of those ideas. As we rob ourselves of individuality, we rob ourselves of the chance to create something fresh and groundbreaking. I call this conformity of execution. It's a slowly creeping terminal disease on the culture, and you can see this happening in real time. A couple of weeks ago, I caught an interview with Andy Weir, the author of Project Hail Mary, where he let loose on the latest series of Star Trek. When I saw him say this, I winced, not because of what he was saying, but because I knew what would come from being so honest. The way you wince when someone's about to trip over something and there's nothing you can do about it. And sure enough, a backlash followed. One of the people who chimed in was Don Winslow, the author of Crime 101, who addressed Andy Weir in a tweet, or an X, or whatever you call those now, saying, "Congrats on the success of Project Hail Mary, but when you have your moment, don't use it to crap on other writers' work. For the record, Alex Kurtzman is a visionary, and you owe him an apology, writer to writer." There it is. Online groupifying and assigning values you must follow as a member of that group, whether you consider yourself a member or not. This is where groupthink and conformity of execution is born and grows. Don't get me wrong, I don't like to crap on other writers either, but that has to do with my humanity as an individual, not some group I've been assigned to or some obligation to its unwritten rules. Believe it or not, Andy Weir's off-the-cuff remark about Star Trek is how people used to talk, and it was okay. I don't mean it wasn't offensive. Not everyone agreed with something someone said, and plenty of people won't agree with what he said, but no one questioned you saying it. I loved that he said it, not because I agreed with it, but because he felt comfortable enough to say what he thought without editing himself for acceptable online behavior. Yes, I'm aware I'm bashing a writer for bashing a writer for bashing a writer for trashing a writer. It's turtles all the way down. Like it or not, this is Andy Weir's voice, his point of view, how he sees and processes the world, and we shouldn't be trying to suppress it just so that we don't have to listen to something that offends us. Because at the fat end of that wedge is boring, samey movies and unbingeable TV. Research suggests that modern lifestyles influenced heavily by social media are reducing time for deep thought and creativity, with studies showing a decrease in groundbreaking new ideas over the past few decades. It shows that while social media offers the appearance of individual expression, its algorithms and social pressures actually encourage users to conform to a narrow, standardized set of behaviors and aesthetic. And in a world of comparison, as we try to mimic the best and most popular versions of life we see, we reduce our unique personal expressions, which means that maybe for the first time in modern cultural history, we are not only all coming up with the same ideas, but also executing them in the same way, the accepted conformist groupthink way of an algorithm. And as a creator and a viewer, that is death. If you want to create something special, do something fresh, or become successful in your art form, resist conformity of execution with your last dying breath.